What's up, y'all? I'm Dee, and welcome back to my channel. Now today, I don't know should I look at, okay, I don't know. Welcome back to my channel. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and subscribe. Y'all know how we do. Go ahead and do it. Subscribe, and turn those post notifications on. All right. Now today I am going to be commenting on T.I.'s misogynistic ass comments. Now before I get started, if you follow me on Instagram, which you should be, and if you're not, go ahead and do it now. I've kind of been going in on Tip lately because a lot of the things he's been saying have been very, very controlling, again, misogynistic and possessive, and it's starting to get very annoying. Now, let's take it back. I want to say when Tiny first got her show, Tiny and Toya, T.I., we learned that T.I. did not want Tiny doing her music, working on her craft, or anything in that nature. He wanted her to be a stay-at-home mom. And there's nothing wrong with it, but it was just, it came off as very controlling because clearly Tiny wanted to continue to do music. And luckily, you know, now Escape reunited and she was able to put out music when they were doing their little, going through their rough patch. But at that time, which was like maybe 10 years ago, he did not want her doing anything. And it's kind of hard to tell a woman who was well established before you that you with me now, I'm about to come up in the game. I just want you at home. I don't want you doing nothing. You know, whatever. So, and mind you, that was probably like 10 plus years ago. And now we're in 2019. He's been getting into it with Iggy as of lately, making some crazy comments. And now he recently did a podcast on the podcast Ladies Like Us. They asked him a question and they asked, have you spoke to your daughters about sex? Specifically Deyjah. If you don't know, Deyjah just turned 18 not too long ago and she's a freshman in college, right? So they asked and he was like, yes. Then he proceeds to voluntarily tell them, we actually go on gyno visits every year. And he mentioned that I guess it started probably when she was maybe 15. And he says he does this to make sure her hymen is intact. Is that what we're doing, Tip? Is that what we're really doing? Now, before I go in on this, let me say this. No, I'm not a father. No, I'm not a parent. However, I was a teenage girl. And what I will say is this. There is nothing wrong with guiding your child, making sure they're not indulging in such activity that they shouldn't be indulging in, giving them direction, advice, and just talking to them and being very present in their lives in every aspect, because at the same time they're still a kid. You know, he was doing this before she was 18 and then recently when she hit 18. So there's nothing wrong with being a protective parent, especially as a father. There's nothing wrong with being a protective father. You know, there's nothing wrong with being involved in your child's life. But when do we say that, you know, okay, you've crossed the line, it's a little bit too much giving out virginity test? When I first heard it, I was just like, I really wasn't surprised. And to be honest, I don't think a lot of us were surprised that he said this. Raise your hand if you were surprised about these comments T.I. made. I'll wait. Exactly. No one was surprised because he's made misogynistic, controlling, possessive comments in the past before. Now, like I said, there's nothing wrong with being involved in your daughter's life, guiding her, protecting her, making sure she's making those right decisions. But to go as far as, you know, let's go see if your hymen is in check. First of all, let's be clear about something. Let's get this theory that's been going on for years. Let's just clear this up, okay? Just because you have a broken hymen, that does not mean you've been participating in intercourse. Now, a hymen is a very thin tissue membrane. It's a very thin membrane, right? And anything can cause it to stretch out, from sports, I want to say an incident, you falling. And you got to think about it. Every woman is not built the same. We all don't have the same system, reproductive system, uterus, whatever. Okay, so some ladies have a thicker tissue. You know, it's just different. in every woman. But the fact is, what really tripped me out was the way he spoke about this situation. For one, he was like, well, I asked the doctor, what are my results? How are they your results when it's not your body? Really? It is his child, but it's not his body to do such things, to do vaginal. I'm sorry, my phone is going off. I'm trying to get some shit in the mix. Okay, cool. Trying to, now, I know it is his child, but I feel like it's just going too far as doing virginity testing. Virginity testing is an actual thing. It is actually more common than what we think. In the country Afghanistan, they do virginity testing to women at random, or if they suspect anything going on before marriage or outside of their marriage. And it can be just based on suspicion. These ladies, they get these virginity checks, and if they don't pass them on site, they send them to prison. They go to jail. And after they get out of jail, once they're released, it's hard for these ladies to build up their lives again, because people has disowned them, etc. Now, this T.I. situation isn't as deep as that. However, I feel like it still fits the bill at the same time. It's just a little history on virginity testing. This also made me think of a movie I saw when I was younger, the Dorothy Dandridge film, where Halle Berry played Dorothy. Dorothy came in late at night, I want to say. I forgot exactly where she was coming from. It's been a while since I've seen the film, but I do remember her aunt giving her a virginity test against Dorothy's wishes, making her feel very uncomfortable and violated. And that scene stuck with me for a long time. It just, as soon as I heard about that podcast, I went directly to that film. It made me think of that moment. Now, of course, T.I. is not the one giving the virginity test. We know that he's just taking her to the doctor to go get it. Nothing wrong with taking your daughter to the doctor, but I feel like his meaning and purpose behind it is pretty wild. It's pretty extreme. I personally do not agree with it. There are some people who feel like, well, at least she have a daddy that's included in her life and wants to know what's going on. Yes, that is all great. That is all good. Nobody is saying that T.I. is a bad dad or a bad parent, and he shouldn't want to be a participant or be active in his child's life. However, I feel like there's just a line that shouldn't be crossed. Of course, it's an invasion of privacy. It's like, wow. What really pissed me off is, why would you tell this on the podcast? Why would you tell these people this? As if you're not a known celebrity, as if we don't live in a digital age, and as if this isn't something that's sacred and personal. Now, when Deyjah in class scrolling through her phone and whatnot, or just walking around campus, she's seeing that she's trending, and it's about her non-existent sex life, which is very, very odd. It's crazy that she has to go on her phone and open up these apps and see that she's trending, because of some stuff that her daddy said. Now, if this was an agreement or a situation that was between her mom and Tip and them three, raise your kids how you feel, what you feel is right. Do what you want to do with your kids within reason. You know what I'm saying? However, he decided to share this information on the podcast with the world. Also, the ladies on the podcast who host the show, Naz and Nadia, if I'm not mistaken, they were laughing and kikiing, and I don't want to necessarily say I do want to, well, fuck that. They should have said something, okay? They should have said something. They should have kind of politely checked him in a way, but at the same time, I think we've all have ha-ha through some embarrassing off-guard bullshit. I don't think it's nothing new about that. I think we've all giggled our way through some stuff. Just, is this really being said? This is like a really awkward moment. So I get it. But like I said, I'm not really surprised T.I. has made these comments over the years. He has shown us that he's very misogynistic, and it's obvious now. And again, there's nothing wrong with protecting your daughter and being included in her life and talking to her about sex. But at the same time, there is a thin line. If that was their agreement, their situation, why would you go share that information with the world and you know it's going to go viral. You know we're going to talk about it, especially in the age we live in now. This situation also made me think about Congress. Now, it doesn't have too much to do with it, but it made me personally think about it, how we live in a world now where they're making up, well, we kind of been living in that kind of world. You know, they're trying to make these rules for women about their bodies. It's like, how can you make a rule or control something that you would never ever know anything about or experience? They're making all these new laws, or trying to get these new laws passed about abortion and birth control. I do not agree with T.I.'s comments and actions on doing the hymen check, virginity check, or whatever the case may be. I feel like there are other ways and methods to ensure and install in your kids that, you know, this is this, that is that, you know, stay away from that, you're not of age yet, etc. I feel like there are a million other ways. So I'm drinking my smoothie. T.I., man, I feel like that's something that should have stayed within the family, but at the same time, it has brought up a lot of discussions about fathers being present in their daughters' lives, and to what extent should they be present into their daughters' lives. So, I mean, it brought up some good conversations at the same time, but if I was Deyjah, I would be embarrassed as hell right now. I would not go to class for the next 2 days. Gotta let this simmer down a little bit. But yeah, T.I., you just keep showing us, Playboy, like what you really think and how you process things and how you feel women, what you really think about women. On his podcast, he had Tiny on, and they had a conversation about marriage, and Tiny spoke about sex when the wife decides to have sex that night, and he kind of made it seem like, well, no, you can't just decide and give and take, once we're married, basically saying your vagina is my vagina, I control that, etc. And that was just not the only thing he said. He said a lot of other things that kind of rubbed me the wrong way throughout that whole interview, and it was really odd, and it kind of just showed you who he is. Now, we all know T.I. is very educated. He knows every word in the dictionary, every word. So I am curious to see how he is going to respond to this, what words he's going to put together, if he even does decide to speak on it. But first, I really think he should talk to Deyjah first, if anything, which he probably already has, and then go from there. He doesn't have to respond to us. He doesn't, but it's kind of clear to me who he is and what he's really not for, etc., etc. So yeah, I would love to hear y'all's comments and thoughts and opinions on this situation, especially the fathers out there. Do you think that T.I. was in the wrong for sharing it? Do you think he was in the wrong at all for even taking her to do these virginity checks? Like, let me know in the comments below. Everybody, please comment and share your opinion. I would love to hear them. Make sure you follow me on Instagram and Twitter, and don't forget to subscribe and turn those post notifications on. I'll see y'all next time. I am out.